Hey guys, HexyTCG here. Welcome back to the channel. I would like to just go ahead and start this video off with an apology. I'm very sorry that I have been slacking heavily, and I mean super heavily, on the videos and content and just being intact with the community, just seeing how everything's going. Um, I have no excuses, honestly. Just life legitimately has been so insanely busy. Being at this point of life with all these friends of mine, everybody's out here getting married or having all these events going on, so I'm just always trying to be there just for them, and then trying to make sure that everything in life is always going great as it is. The new job that I'm at currently too is also booming like crazy, so we're always busy 24/7 just about. But yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and let y'all know what was going on. And I do want y'all to know I do plan on getting these videos to come back up just as often as I was doing before, and if not anything, I would love to try to get the videos coming out a lot sooner than that. But yeah, I wanted to go ahead and start this video off, or start the videos back up, with the new Blukuna deck that everybody loved. This was the first deck that I made in Xburst that ended up becoming the top of the list on the website, which I thought was really amazing. And on top of that, it's also just one of the decks that also recently got its new restriction released. So everyone knew about the restriction that allowed or took this UG away from us, pretty much making it to where we couldn't use this specific UG card along with this Sukuna. But now that the restriction is released, we are now allowed to have max amount of both cards in there as well. But yeah, I want to go ahead and let y'all know about this deck that I went ahead and played around with. I currently like it a lot. I've had some pretty good luck recently. At least out of the couple matches I've played, I've won more than lost, just because I feel like with this build that I created, you pretty much find everything that you need. I'm sure some people that'll look at this list will probably change some things about it, but currently it is still in the works. I'm not sure if I will change it up too much from this, but yeah, let's go ahead and go over some of these cards so you guys can see what we got going on right here. So just to start it out, as usual, we got our zero starting up first. We got 4 of these Itadori Yujis. It's going to be our 0 cost 1 AP. He's got no abilities on him. He's just our trigger that if we pull it from life, we get to get it and put it into our hand. He's a 1500 BP, and he generates 1 energy for us. Our next card is going to be Takuma Ino. He's another one of our 0 energy or 0 cost cards. He also is a draw trigger and generates 1 energy, but instead he will have a 2000 BP for us right here. Instead of 4 of him, we're going to be running 3 of him just so we can make sure we get the rest of our zeros. And then for our last 0, we are going to be running 4 of these Nobara Kugisakis. She is going to be 0-1, and this 0 drop is going to give us the ability to, when played, draw a card and then sideline a card from hand. This Nobara is very useful, so that way if we end up getting a good starting hand or a mulligan hand that has some of the Sukuna's fingers, you can go ahead and get ready to drop them really quick. I've been pretty lucky with the matches that I was talking about. Normally, the last few matches I've had, I've at least had minimum 1 to 2 of the Sukuna's fingers, whether I did a normal draw or mulligan, and then I always ended up luckily falling into this Nobara as well. So I've been able to have most of my games to where I've had at least 2 of these Sukuna's fingers right there in the sideline immediately, just to set me up for one of the Sukunas later on, or any of the Sukunas pretty much. But yeah, the next character we have in here is going to be our 1-1 Akira Nita. She is going to be another draw trigger, and she's going to have 2500 BP and generate 1 energy for us. With this Akira Nita, I pretty much like to have this 1 drop in there just to help myself build up the energy for the rest of the cards coming in. And then on top of that, if I end up getting enough zeros just to help myself out, or if I at least have like a 2 drop coming up next with the ones that I'm about to list out soon, I'm able to go ahead and push this Akira up to the front line to give myself the ability to go ahead and get some early swings in. And then also it just helps block some of the characters that most people will go ahead and play, because recently a lot of people have been, and at least in my personal experience, I won't say for everybody, but at least in my experience, I've seen a lot of people getting ready to just push a lot of their low cost 1500 or 2000 BP characters to the front line. And so having this Akira on the front line allows me to go ahead and get a free block in as well. And even if they choose to push up something that's 3000 BP, I can go ahead and use her as a blocker if I don't feel like I'm ready enough to go ahead and start taking life yet. But we'll be running only 2 of her, so that way we can fit some of the other cards that are in our list into our deck as well. But our next character is going to be another Itadori Yuji. This Yuji is going to be our 2 energy 1 AP. On play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Sukuna finger card among them and add it to your hand. Place the remaining cards onto the bottom of your deck in any order. And then if you added a card to your hand, place one of the cards from your hand onto the bottom of the deck. Now, because I was so new to this card, because I didn't use it at all before with the restriction being in play, I honestly messed up with this deck a little bit on one of my first 2 games, and I thought it was saying to put the card in the sideline. So try not to make the mistake I did. Just make sure you always double check and read your cards. Luckily, the person I played against was someone that I usually play with, so they let me know that I messed up my turn. And so I just make sure you always put that card to the bottom. Usually, if there's any card that I'm putting to the bottom, it's probably one of the Satoru Gojos that I'll be coming up with next, or even a Maki, or anything that's at least like 2 energy or less, just because I usually would like to keep the Sukunas or the Yujis in hand so I can go ahead and get ready for the bigger targets. But yeah, we're going to be running 3 of this Yuji, so that way we also just have a target for any of the Sukunas coming up. And our next character is going to be Satoru Gojo. We're only running 2 of this guy, and he's a 2 energy, 1 AP. If this character is set to active, he will gain 1 energy. So he starts out with 1 energy, but once he turns active, he immediately generates 2 for you. And then he's also got 2500 BP for us as well. We're running only 2 of those, by the way, just because we have a few other options to get us to double energy. And those other double energies will allow us to get up to the tall Sukuna that's 7 energy, but we'll go over that in a second. Next character we have up next is going to be Maki Zenin. She's a 2 energy, 1 AP character. During your opponent's turn, if you have 1 or more Cursed Tool Affinity cards or 4 or more event cards in your sideline, this character gains 1500 BP. When played, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, add 1 of those cards to your hand, and place the remaining cards into your sideline. We love this Maki Zenin just because she helps us out with the fact that we need to get our Sukuna's fingers. So she has a nice draw ability where we get to draw 2 cards, pitch 1, put it into the sideline. And a lot of the times you run into just about any of these cards on here, but when you get that lucky chance to pull a Sukuna's finger, or even a special, or the shrine, literally anything that I would say that's down in the bottom over here on the side where there's like the events or the sites, I'd say those are really nice picks for this Maki Zenin as well. And yeah, other than that, I just really like this character as well because during my opponent's turn, like it says, if we have at least 4 of the events, since we're not running any curse tools, we pretty much get to boost this Maki up by 1500 BP, pushing her up to a 3k. So she helps us get a few swings in if our opponent doesn't have strong enough characters, and makes them get to a point where they might even have to force block some of their own cards just so we can give ourselves a better chance at winning this match. And then other than that, it just helps us out as well. If they're attacking us, if they don't have anything that's strong enough, we can go ahead and block them right back. But we will only be running 2 of her. I felt before this deck was made, I think I did have at least 3 or 4, most likely 3. But now that we have this restriction released or removed, I felt like I needed to drop this one down a little bit. Next character that we have coming up is the 3-1 Itadori Yuji. During your opponent's turn, if you have a Sukuna's finger in your sideline, this character gains 1000 BP. It is also an active trigger, so that way if it comes out of your life, you get to choose a character on your field switch to active, and then also it gains 3000 BP until the end of the turn. Definitely feel like this Yuji is a must-have, especially at the max cards possible for, just because, as you know, as long as you get a finger in the sideline, he's pretty much a 4k that only costs 3 energy. But at the same time, not only does it have that ability for itself, it also is generating the 2 energy to help us get to the tall Sukuna, or even the other Sukunas that are, or the other Sukuna that's a 5 energy. So as long as we have a few of these Itadori Yujis, or even the Satoru Gojo, we can go ahead and start getting ready for the 5 drop, the 6 drop, or even the 7 drop Sukuna. Our next character, and also as well, of course, because it's Yuji, it's going to be another target to raid on top of with a Sukuna. And then our next Yuji that's coming up is going to be the 3-1 Yuji as well, but this one is the color trigger instead. So if you have a Sukuna's finger in your sideline, instead of it gaining 1000 BP, this one's going to generate energy. And with the color trigger, since it's a blue color trigger, as we all know, choose a character on your opponent's front line with 3500 BP or less and return it back to their hand. This Yuji is also going to have 3500 BP while generating 1 energy unless we have a Sukuna's finger. With this Yuji, it's very nice because it's another target for Sukuna as always. And then with it being 3500 BP, it just gives you a very good chance if you need to push it up to your front line, or even play it on your front line if you don't need any more energy. It allows you to go ahead and get some good swings to force your opponent to either block or take some life. We're going to be running 4 of that just because it's also a color trigger and it just gives us more options to raid on top of. Our next character though is going to be the 4-1 Sukuna. This is going to be the first raid target that we talk about in this deck. And it's also the other card that we're able to match up again with this UG over here that was restricted before. And during your turn, if you have one or more copies of Sukuna's Finger, if one or more copies of Sukuna's Finger are in your sideline, this character gains 1000 BP. If 2 or more copies are in the sideline, this character gains 1 or impact 1. And then when played, you get to draw 2 cards and place 1 card from your hand into your sideline. This Sukuna is a must-have. I feel like anybody would know that this Sukuna needs to be a 4 of, because you're getting that free impact when it's played as long as you have 2 of the fingers. If you only have 1, it at least gets to push up to a 5k, which is very nice, honestly. And then on top of that, when you get that win played ability, when you're drawing those 2 cards, you don't have to just put only those 2 or one of the 2 cards that you just drew, but you can put any card in your hand off to the sideline. So like, for example, if you had a full board of characters that there was no active UGs on field, if you needed to go ahead and get rid of a Sukuna's Finger real quick so you could get up to the second one, you can go ahead and sideline it with that, which would allow him to go ahead and boost himself back up to get that impact 1 that you need. So that's always something that's going to be really good. And then also, if it comes out of your life, it's the raid trigger, so you get to go ahead and either add it to your hand, or if you have the required energy, you get to perform raid with it. The next Sukuna that we have coming up on the list is going to be our 5-1 Sukuna. This one we're only running 3 of, because with the rest of the Sukunas, I don't feel like it needs to have 3. But with this one, when you play this Sukuna, choose up to 1 character on your opponent's front line and switch it to resting. It will remain set to resting the next time it would switch to active. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck and reveal up to 1 Sukuna's Finger or Malevolent Shrine card among them and add it to your hand. Place the remaining cards onto the bottom of your deck in any order. The reason I feel like this Sukuna is also needed in this deck is just because sometimes you need to stop your opponent from doing things that they would like to do. And so you normally want to go ahead, either freeze some of their raids that are already out, or even freeze some of the cards that they're trying to place up onto the front line to use as like blocking cards, which freezing those is very helpful. For example, in my match that I had last night, it was a very close match. I think I won by maybe 1 life or 2 just because of this Sukuna alone. Only because the person had left a UG. It was a mirror match. They left a UG up on their front line, and then they left one of the 4-1 Sukunas with the impact on their front line as well. But then the third card that they had, I believe, was just one of these 4 cards on the front line. And so I froze that card with this Sukuna to force them, with the last 2 or 3 Sukunas I had on my front line, to make them block. So it made them lose one of their raid targets, and it helped me out very heavily, because without this Sukuna, I think I would have honestly lost that matchup. But even better, because you can search for a shrine as well, if you have at least 1 more AP after you play the Sukuna, you get to go ahead and play that shrine. And if you have the fingers that you need, you get to go ahead and activate that shrine and give it any of the abilities that's on there, as long as you have the required amount. But then also with the trigger on this guy, it's a get, so you just go ahead and add it to your hand. Unfortunately, it's not a raid target, which would be fantastic. I feel like it would honestly break this deck like crazy. But yeah, that's pretty much what we have here. And then right here, this is not the Sukuna that I was supposed to have. I was just testing it out currently, but that one is actually supposed to be the 4-2 Sukuna. So let me go ahead and add that in. I personally like this Sukuna a bit better than the 6-2. Just because early game, if you at least get to that 4 energy with the double energy Satoru Gojo, or even just the other 0 drops to 1 drops, or even the 2s, you can go ahead and drop this Sukuna early. It's very nice because since it's a 4-2, or since you're paying 2 AP, you get to go ahead and play this character active. He also has double block, and then during your turn, he gains 500, so you get to play him as a 4K, and then whenever he's attacking, you get to choose 1 character with 1500 or more BP on your opponent's field. That goes ahead and it loses 1000 BP until the end of the turn. And then for every Sukuna's Finger that you have in your sideline, you get to choose an additional character on your opponent's front line. So originally, even if you have no Sukuna's Fingers in your front line, this Sukuna will at least allow you to go ahead and subtract 1000 BP from someone with the required BP amount by 1000. But then as long as you have 3 other fingers, you get to go ahead and subtract their entire front line by 1000, which is very nice. Other than that, it's an active trigger, so whenever it comes from life, go ahead and switch a character to active and give it 3000 BP unless it's frozen. And then this guy's base BP is going to be 3500 BP and generate 1 energy for us. I'm only running 2 of this one just because it is a 2 AP cost card, and I feel like with the rest of the Sukunas that we have, this one does not need to be more than 2 in my personal opinion, but Again, I'm just playtesting around. This is currently the deck that I feel like fits me the most at the moment. And then our next Sukuna and our last Sukuna is going to be our big guy. This is going to be just a one of. Only reason I have one of this Sukuna is because with the other Sukunas in this build, you pretty much have everything that you need, in my opinion. Only reason I have this Sukuna here is that way. Sometimes if it's like mid game and you have the energy, when you play this guy, you get to go ahead and use all the abilities, which we'll go over in a second. But other than that, like if it's late game, it just helps out a whole lot. But in the past few games that I've played or playtests that I've had, having more than one of these Sukunas kind of just feels like I'm screwing myself over, because sometimes you just can't get to that 7 energy, and it honestly messes up the entire playstyle of this plate or this deck that I created. But yeah, this is going to be our 7-1 Sukuna. It is a raid, of course, and it has impact when you do. When played, you get to choose one of the abilities listed below, but if you have 3 Sukuna's fingers in your sideline, you get to choose 2. And if you have all 4 of the Sukuna's fingers, you get to choose all the abilities instead. And so the 3 abilities on this card, the first one is going to be draw a card and your opponent places 1 card from their hand into their sideline. The second one is going to be all characters with 2500 or more BP on your opponent's front line lose 2000 BP until the end of the turn. And then the last option is choose up to 1 character with 3500 or less BP on your opponent's front line and sideline it. It's also a raid target, so if it comes from life, you get to go ahead and add it to your hand, which is very nice. So that way, if you can't find it at some point and you feel like this is the Sukuna that you would prefer to choose or prefer to play coming up next in any of the turns, it gets to go ahead and get added right into your hand. Or if you already have the energy, you can go ahead and play it and then choose any of the options based off of what you got. It also is a base of 5000 BP, so it's just like our 4-1 Sukuna, but of course a lot heavier of a cost. And then it also generates 1 energy force if it is back there on the energy line. Nice thing about this card is that if you choose to target any or use the last 2 abilities where you're either subtracting 2k and then sidelining a character, you don't have to worry about it being on the front line only, so that way you can save this guy just in case you attack them and then you have a special. But other than that, I feel like this is just something that I would like to personally have as a one of, because when I was playing with this one as well in those matches I keep talking about, I got lucky and I literally was able to play this guy super early, preventing my opponent who was able to play 2 raids immediately, which I thought I was going to be screwed over. But because of the second ability where you get to minus 2000, I was able to take a 4k down to 2k and then use the third ability to choose a character that was 3500 BP or less and sideline it. So this is a very nice removal card at the same time as something that gives you impact. But then as well with the malevolent shrine, it is just also very nice because it gives you some more buffs that you need. Alright, so now down to our events and sites. Of course, we all know we need 4 of these Sukuna's fingers. It's a 1-1. The ability says you cannot use this card unless you place 1 card from your life into your sideline or switch 1 active UG card on your field to resting, and then draw a card, choose up to 1 of your AP cards, and switch it to active. It is also a draw trigger, so if it comes out of life, it's very fine if it does, because it also just helps you the moment it goes into your sideline, because not only are you drawing a card, you're also getting a card that helps boost the abilities of the Sukunas that you need and the Malevolent Shrine. We're only running 2 domain expansions for the finals, only because I wanted to give myself better chances to pull any of the cards that are up above or for the rest of the cards coming up afterwards. But yeah, with the simple final, as we all know, choose up to 2 of your AP cards, switch them to active. If the final is the last card in your life, you just get to go ahead and place the card from the top of your deck into your life and replace this card that just got taken out. Next card is going to be our special. We're going to run 4 of these just so we have max ability to go ahead and remove our opponent's cards as we can. And we're going to, the ability is choose 1 character with 5000 or less BP on your opponent's frontline and return it to their hand. If UG is on the field, sideline it instead. So it's very nice because even if it goes back to your opponent's hand, that makes them have to choose the option of, okay, do I want to go ahead and play this again? Or do I want to just go ahead and try to figure something else out? But then also, again, if UG's on the field too, it doesn't even give them that chance unless they have something that allows them to pull out of their sideline. But then also, if your opponent attacks you and this card pops up out of your life, you get to choose a card on your opponent's field and sideline it as well. So it's just a fantastic special, fantastic removal card. Definitely needs to have max 4. Next card coming up, it's another one of Malevolent Shrine is a 4-1. It is a site card. You play this site set to active on your field when you do play it. It has an activate main ability, which allows you to switch this card to resting. You choose only one Sukuna on your field until the end of the turn. It gains all the abilities listed below if you have the required number of fingers in your sideline. So if you got 2 or more, you get to give a Sukuna damage 2. If you have 3 or more, you get to give it snipe, and then if you have 4, you give it impact. Just so everyone knows, just because I know some people still question it every now and then, even if you got all 4 of the Sukuna's fingers, for example, let's say we're giving it to this Sukuna first, you can go ahead, because this Sukuna doesn't have anything like impact, damage, or snipe or anything like that, he would pretty much get all of these abilities. But let's say, for example, you're trying to go, or let's say you don't have all 4 and you want to go ahead and still give it the damage 2 and snipe. For example, when you go and swing with this one, you would be able to snipe, but you're not going to be able to swing immediately for the damage 2 because it's not a impact. So I just want to make sure everybody knows impact and damage, 2 completely different things, of course. It's just with impact, if you swing with impact, that will go ahead and go through unless your opponent has something higher BP or if they have a nullified impact. And so, for example, let's say we're giving that, or this Malevolent Shrine, to the tall Sukuna who has impact 1 already. Let's say we went ahead and still only had the 3 Sukuna's fingers. He would get the damage 2 buff and the snipe. But even still, if we swung with this Sukuna having those buffs on there, you would still be able to snipe a card, but realistically the snipe will get rid of the damage 2. But because this Sukuna already has impact 1 on it, you still at least get 1 card from their life because it is impact. So I just want to make sure that's clear for everyone. Impact and damage, they're 2 different things. Damage is not always secured. Impact is normally the most secured to get the life. But yeah, this is just going to be a one of, because I feel like with all the other cards and the amount of drawing power that we have in this deck, you honestly run into this very quickly. And then also, if it is in your life, because it is a get trigger, you get to go ahead and add it straight to your hand without a problem. Our very last card that is also another one of, we currently have 3 different one ofs in this deck, but I honestly think it works out very well. The card that I feel like everyone wanted to use when set 2 dropped was this card right here, the 8 energy card, 2 action points. Be proud, you are strong. This card is amazing. I've only been able to use it once so far because during the times when it popped up in my deck, I've never really needed to use it because of the abilities Sukuna's had, but just because I needed to go ahead and remove an opponent's card just to give myself a better lead, I was luckily able to go ahead and play this guy. But with this ability and with this event card, if Sukuna's on your front line, you reduce this card's required energy by 2, dropping it down to 6 energy. But then you get to choose 1 character on your opponent's front line with 4,000 or more BP and sideline it, and then you get to draw 2 cards after that. So it's honestly insane. I honestly like this card a lot. You don't always need it because you have so many other options to remove characters, but when you do get to use this card, it feels great. It just feels like you're in the show and you get to just mess around with your opponent and just be like, look, be proud, man, you are strong. Your characters are great, but sorry, I gotta get rid of it. And then on top of that, I'm gonna draw 2 cards right in front of you. But yeah, this is pretty much the deck that we have so far. Please let me know what you guys think about it. I am, again, still like playtesting and messing around with this. I don't currently see anything that I would want to go ahead and do to change it up. But if you guys have any opinions or recommendations, please drop them down below in the comments, and I will go ahead and make a second deck and try it out. I also do want to mention that I do want to try to go ahead and make my videos a bit better. I want to try to make my thumbnails a bit better for you guys, so that way it's a little more interesting and gets your attention to get you to come and watch my videos a bit more as I go ahead and start making more videos. But then on top of that, I kind of want to go ahead and come up with a new format of videos where instead of it just being only a deck preview, I want to go ahead and show like the image of this deck like this for a minute, or not even just a minute, but like maybe 5 minutes, do a quick read over, and then I want to finish up that video with at least some like gameplay right after that, whether it's like a match to 3 matches, just to show like what I'm currently doing with the deck and just what a possible matchup could be like. But yeah, if there's any sort of form of videos that you guys would like, please let me know. I think some of the next upcoming videos that I will make is probably going to be the Nikkei set, and then some of these other sets like Kenshin, Yu Yu Hakusho, and Kaiju. But yeah, please let me know what you guys are looking forward to. Again, sorry that the videos have been slacking a lot, but I promise I will come back and get these videos going so you guys can have some things to look forward to. But yeah, thank you guys so much for stopping by, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.